and why he is suing Shannon Sharpe, Pat McAfee, and Urmar Johnson, and all these other people who is calling him out from taking money from the poor, allegedly. I'm going to say allegedly because I don't want Brett Farve taking me to court either. Brett, go ahead and pay that money back. If you're taking money from the poor, hey, you're taking money from the poor. There's no defamation lawsuit here. But do he have some type of case here? We'll discuss. Lawyer Henderson is live, y'all. It's live. Yep. He is taking Shannon Sharpe, Pat McAfee, Urmar Johnson, suing for defamation. I'm Lawyer Henderson. Welcome to the Lawyer Henderson podcast show. Thumbs up, like, share, subscribe. Oh, my ear been hurting me here a little bit. Brett Farve, let's talk about him. Now, as you know, I am a Greenbay Packers fan. That is when I participate in sports. We've got so much in the Black community to do. You're not going to hear me talk about sports that much. And as a Black man, we got so much stuff to do. I don't even know why we think that talking about sports is something that men do in order to prove that they're manly. But we're going to be talking about Brett Farve and his lawsuit against Shannon Sharpe, Pat McAfee, and Urmar Johnson is another potential person that Brett is suing. Now, as you know, like I said earlier, I'm a Green Bay Packer fan. I like the Green Bay Packers. But one of the things, but I'm like I said, I'm not over obsessed with sports because I know in the Black community, we got so much work to do besides, trying to figure out who's going to win a Super Bowl or a national championship. I just don't, play that game. But Brett Farve is coming out saying, you're defaming. You basically is saying that I stole money from the poor. Let's talk about it here today on the Lawyer Henderson podcast show. Thanks for joining me. Our cash app here is $Lawyer Henderson 40. You can also basically do your love offering and also contact us at the Lawyer Henderson podcast show. That's P.O. Box 492, 502 Atlanta, Georgia 30349. Brett Farve is dragging Pat McAfee, Shannon Sharpe to court, suing the ultimate popular sports analyst after he said they made comments about that they were fraud and saying that they defamed him by taking money from Mississippi State. He claimed that they had carried out this outrageous media campaign of malicious and false accusations against Brett Farve. Okay, it's what his attorneys are saying. The Hall of Fame quarterbacker, native son of Mississippi. It is a brazen attempt to leverage the media attention generated by Farve's celebrity to further his own political career. By shamelessly and falsely attacking Farve's good name, White has gained national media attention to previously could have only dreamed of. Attention he previously could have only dreamed of. PN podcast, as well as an interview for the print and online media. None of these national media outlets would have paid White the silence attention had he not been attacking Farve. Himself acknowledged this, admitting that his own wife was shocked by his appearance on ESPN. ESPN Daily Podcast. Now they're talking about Shar White, Shot White. He is supposed to be over. Shot White is an auditor. Okay, and let's go ahead and read into this. It says Farve filed a lawsuit earlier this week in Mississippi, naming state auditor Shot White as a defendant in one of his suits as well. The Greenbay Packers legend claimed in a suit all three defamed him when talking about his alleged role in the welfare fund scandals in Mississippi. So I forgot that he was suing Shot White, which is the state auditor in Mississippi. He's suing Shannon Sharpe and Pat McAfee. Now, Urmar Johnson is allegedly to be the fourth person that Brett Farve is suing. The Hall of Famer claimed, I'm sorry, let's go back here. Green Bay Packers legend claimed in a suit all three defamed him when talking about his alleged role in a welfare fund scandal in Mississippi. Farve said McAfee made some of the remarks on his podcast, alleging the former NFL punter said the ex-quarterback was stealing from poor people in Mississippi. Now we wonder why a lot of people in Mississippi is poor. The Hall of Famer claimed Sharpe muttered defamatory comments on his FS1 show when he said Sharpe called Farve a sorry MF of stealing from the lowest of the low, end quote. As for the White, Farve says that the Mississippi officials have shamefully and falsely attacked him for months in a brazen attempt to leverage the media attention generated by Farve's celebrity for the future, to further his own political career. Let me stop right there. Can R. Kelly sue the women who defamed his character for lying and claiming that he had them as a sex slave and had them in a cult? Can he sue them as well? Because since all of his charges are being dropped from New York, Kim Fox just announced he's dropped the charges over there. Can he sue those women too? I think he could. But we're going to talk about R. Kelly a little bit later on. But let's continue this with Brett Farve. The Hall of Famer claimed Sharpe muttered defamation comments on his FS1 show when he said Sharpe called Farve a sorry MF to steal from the lowest of the low. As for White, Farve says the Mississippi officials have shamelessly and falsely attacked him in months in a brazen attempt to leverage the media attention generated by Farve's celebrity by future his own political career. Yeah, I just read that. It says here, FYI, White and his office were the ones who initially discovered the alleged misuse of welfare funds, claiming over $70 million intended to go towards the needy in Mississippi actually went elsewhere, including to Farve, as well as projects closely associated with the Hall of Famer. Farve thought that denied any wrongdoing. Farve, though, has denied any wrongdoing in the case, insisting back in September, I have done nothing wrong. Farve is suing the trio for unexpected damages. And let's stop right there. White men that always do this. White men there, talk about what I've done, despite the fact I'm paying the money back. They're trying to use my celebrity to gain some attention here. Now, Brett Farve, to be fair, and like I said, I like Brett, be fair, and I may be sued next, but Brett, you took money from these people, you're paying it back. So how is this defamation? I'm still trying to figure out. You paid some of this back, Brett, and we obtained a lawsuit that Mr. Farve had filed. Listen here. If you're not stealing from the poor, especially from Black people who are poor, if you're not stealing from the poor, out of the poor, Black people, all of these poor people in America and the world, then you're not a real white man. You're just not. Okay, that is white men MO. If they don't have a successful business and stuff like that, and you see them get money, they stole it from somewhere. Okay, or they went out and killed their wife over an insurance policy. Okay, let's be very clear. Okay, if you're a broke white man today, and you're probably just now coming from other parts of Europe and the United States, hey, you see, we understand that. But Brett Farve, had stolen from the state because he knew that this money was coming from Mississippi, and the auditors had basically said, whoa, 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 you're misappropriating the funds, okay? So it goes on to say that a spokesman from the state auditor's office said Thursday in response to the suit that everything Auditor White has said about this case is true and it's backed up by years of audit work by the professionals at the Office of the State Auditor. Okay, he works in the office. Why would he just defame you on purpose, Brett? That doesn't make no sense. If they had a conversation, whereas they waited till you retired to basically even bring this out, that's number one. Number one, like I said, I like Greenbay. It's my team. But if they basically went to talk about the fact that when you were playing with Greenbay as well, for Greenbay as the quarterback, they knew about this. The state knew about this. But they wanted to help you with your reputation at the time that you were playing football so that after you retire, this all can come out. Typically, the scandal as to how white men do it, okay? Sharpe now works for sports media. The suit against him states Sharpe published defamation statements of purported facts referring specifically to Farve's name on an episode of his television show, Skip and Shannon, Undisputed. On that show in September of 2022, Sharpe said, "The problem I have with the situation, you got to be sorry enough to steal from the lowest of the low." So what happened and when? A timeline of Brett Farve's involvement in the Mississippi welfare fraud scheme. Latest, Farve sued Pat McAfee, Shannon Sharpe, and Sean White, adding Urmar Johnson to the occasion here. Farve also pointed to two more of the following statements. Brett Farve is taken from the underserved in Mississippi, and Farve stole money from people that really needed that money. Okay? Now, MSPN Games Day, Pat McAfee said here, McAfee is a former college football kicker and punter at West Virginia. He most recently had made a name for himself as an analyst on ESPN's College Game Day. He also had a show called The Pat McAfee Show. Now, Brett, there you go. Your defamation lawsuit is going to be in trouble at that point if you're suing Mr. McAfee, because he was already an analyst at ESPN. Okay, we're breaking down the lawsuit. We've obtained Brett Farve's lawsuit here. We got it somewhere here. On the Pat McAfee show, the former partner said two things that drew the ire of Farve and were in the complaint. Every time his name gets brought up, we have to mention that he tied the hands of the poor people and took money right out of their pockets. And Farve is certainly in the middle of stealing from the poor people in Mississippi right now. You see, that reminds me what Brett Farve has done. If this is true, this is all alleged right now, but well, it's not alleged if he's paying money back. But this is the personification that you see white men over in foreign countries doing too. Everybody is broke and the white folks over there is rich. You see, because the poor is generating the money for the white rich man that is exploiting those particular areas. Thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe. That water's good. Goes on to say here, according to the Clarion Ledger, I hope I said that right, on February 10, 2023, February 10, 2023, that former Southern Mississippi and NFL star Brett Farve filed a defamation suit on Thursday against sports commentator Shannon Sharpe and Cafee and Mississippi author Sean White. Here's what each one has said alleged the Farve filed a suit. According to the complaint, we're going to go back over this complaint here. It's very important. According to the complaint, in 2020 and 2021, after learning for the first time that a nonprofit for whom he had agreed to do publicity work made him improperly pay him with government funds, Farve voluntarily repaid all the funds. Okay, end quote. Now let's stop right there. Okay, let's stop right there. Because what black sports figure or Black person you know that is going to get government funds from the state, from sports, or whoever, and if there's a scandal, would not be arrested for it? Okay? And Umar Johnson came out and said, yes, white privilege. I agree. Okay? I like Brett Farve. Like I said, I like Brett Farve. But I agree. This is white privilege. This is white privilege because white people try to keep us, as I often say, and as Amos Wilson taught us, in a segmented labor market. They don't want Black men having any kind of economics in this community and in any system, you see. So I agree with Umar on this as well. Now, it says during that period in May 2020, White issued the following statement. I want to applaud Mr. Farve for his good faith effort to make this right and make the taxpayer in TANF families who, to date, we have seen no records indicate Mr. Farve knew that TANF was the program, which is a welfare program. TANF is a welfare program, was the program that served as the source of the money he was paid. White has seen no records indicating that Farve knew that MCEC used TANF funds to pay him because none exists. Okay, so in other words, Mississippi State or whatever got with the government and says, hey, if there's a program and Brett Farve is involved in it, let us use the funds and we'll take those funds, you see. Sort of reminded me of the situation that I was covering in Otago County, Georgia, where that state representative was stealing from his employer, embezzling all of his money. And they're going to go and hire an attorney, and the attorney going to say, oh, well, you basically filed the wrong charges against him. It doesn't matter. He basically stole money. Okay. He is, it doesn't matter how he obtained it. Typically, if you've taken money from somebody and you know that you're taking money from somebody, the ideal of you basically saying, well, I paid it back, it does not mean anything because you were only able to pay it back because you became a sports figure at that time, being paid as a football star. Okay. Now, during the time here, I would say is that at least this Mississippi auditor, Shaw White, kept it quiet during your career, Brett. Okay. So you're making a bad deal out of nothing. This is white privilege. White privilege, as Professor what's his name? Professor Truth always say, that white privilege is about guarantees, giveaways, and goodies. So in a sense then, if white privilege is based up on giving and just handing white folks, specifically the white man, all of these things where he could do things that we can't as Black people, that is not only white privilege, that is a guarantee by the state, whereas in a sense, a average Black person or professional would have gotten in trouble, would have got sued, and also would have got prison time for doing exactly the same thing. So just by Brett filing a lawsuit here shows you that he is trying to continue to exercise his white privilege. A lot of white folks is saying so quietly, hey, man, you need to stop this because you're actually exercising white privilege, and we don't want Black people and other people to know, hey, this is really white privilege, you see. But it goes on to say, a year later, White reversed course. Farve lawsuit claimed that White was seeking press attention for his forthcoming re-election campaign and that the state auditor attempted to capitalize on public interest in Farve by engaging in a defamatory media campaign against Farve. Farve suits Brett Farve filed defamation lawsuit against Shannon Sharpe, Pat McAfee, and Shot White. And it's also said here that what $5 million and wherefore money bought Southern Mississippi volleyball team. Okay. So, like I said, the white man is not going to participate in anything if there's no money involved in it. He's not do anything unless he knows there's something in for him, you see. And so I often look at these types of situations, and that basically about embezzlement, okay? And it sort of remind me of what Amos Wilson talked about when he says that, white people can steal in a major corporation or in the stock or in a not SEL, but an SEC thing, like in a corporate structure. They can embezzle money inside, if they're dealing with the money on a computer or something like that, trading and stuff. It's easy for white men to steal that way than going out and just hitting somebody over the head, robbing them like black men have to do. You see what I'm saying? People basically commit crimes, based upon their economic situation. That's why, talking about black violence is foolish, okay? Because we know as black people, resources is just not in our communities, okay? We know that. It goes on to say here, the Clarion Ledger, that Farve's suit points to an interview with CNN Kate Bowan, however you say this man's name. I'm sorry, woman name. In September of 2022, as one of the Times White defamed the former Green Bay Packers quarterback. And at the interview with White said, we know that Mr. Farve not only knew that he was receiving money from this, but he actually also knew that he was paying this back, and that he also knew how much money he was getting, the $5 million that he was going to get, and from the Southern Mississippi volleyball team or what have you. So again, they covered this up for him for a very long time, even during the time of his career. I don't know if there was certain things that was mentioned about it, I think, but not a lot of things that were mentioned, okay? So Urmar Johnson also made a statement about Farve taking this money. And there was also a relative article, let's read those, that Brett Farve also wanted welfare money to fund football facility, the text shows. Brett Farve in Fed's crosshair after ex-Mississippi Welfare Agency head guilty plea, okay? So Brett has already really been found guilty in certain situations, I think, not only by the press and about what he knew that the money was coming from the state. He also knew that he was getting paid, and he also knew that he misused the funds. And so to say that people were falsely accusing him of stealing money, I think what he is missing, the fact is that you cannot sue nobody for defamation if you're paying the money back. And 9 times out of 10, you knew that this was going on. You just didn't say anything about it. That is a personification of white privilege. We often talk about white privilege a lot here in the black media. And like I said earlier, if you're not stealing from the poor, especially from black people who are poor, they're not a real white man. You're just not. And Brett Farve is a real white man because he's, actually stolen from the poor. He's stolen from the poor. And that's what white men do. They steal and basically are embezzled, which is another form of stealing, or they take money, like I said, from a major corporation, put it into their account like that, and they get this money, and they're able to basically get a lot of things, and they're able to pay money into credit. This is why every time a new product come out, you see white people with it first. You see, even when the Chinese built something and it comes to the United States, of course you're going to have white people who get it first, because that is a part of their white privilege, to obtain everything new. You even see white people, after something is built, even in a black neighborhood, they're the first one that wants to go inside there and experience it, because what? You see what I'm saying? They think that they basically are privileged to what? Go in and experience it first. are obtained it first. The purchasing power they needed, they want it first. That is basically an exercise of white privilege. And what Brett Farve is not understanding is that it was great for Sean White to not call him out, or if he did call him out during his career, he had every right to call him out about how he obtained certain types of funding, certain types of funding, and that he was able to use that money for certain personal things when they say misuse. Okay? Now, like I said, when a politician misuse funding, then he or she should be brought up against charges with what they call they have these boards where they basically will take the politician, say, hey, they're going to do an audit. You took these monies and stuff like that. So they bring them in before the ethics board or ethics board. But these sports figures, when they're white, mainly, basically really, really, really don't get in trouble like that. They really are never prosecuted either. Okay. And so this is what, I think Shannon Sharpe and McAfee is basically, getting at. And this is what our Urmar Johnson is getting at. Okay. And so that's what we wanted to understand here. But we obtained a lawsuit that Brett Farve had filed against these guys, especially Shannon Sharpe. He basically had that Sean White, he sued Sean White, the author of Mississippi, had carried out an outrageous media campaign of malicious and false accusations against Brett Farve. This is his attorney filing it. And so now he demands a jury trial in this lawsuit. And this was filed in a circuit court of Lamar County, Mississippi, against Patrick Justice McAfee. And listen, Brett, there's no defamation suit here, man. Sorry. Brett, there's no defamation suit. I'm sorry, man. It's not. You're paying back money, man. You're paying back money. And so you have to understand that you have no case. Okay. They were basically, because you're a celebrity, Mr. White was willing to, like I said earlier, and I don't mean to be a broken record, he was willing to wait your career to not bring all this out, which is another form of white privilege, you see. But we obtained your lawsuit, man. You got nothing here. You got nothing here. We see the nature of the complaint. It's basically, you're saying that false or defamation statement. There's no false statements. If you basically, like I said, a lot of white men and women are specifically would not get into any project if there's not money involved. So if you did something which you claim to be a good deed, why basically have to have money there? Mm-hmm. Okay. So the Office of the State Auditor also filed a lawsuit against you, Brett, because of this money. And also then told you that since you paid it back, that they congratulated you on doing so and doing the right thing. There's no defamation lawsuit that you have here. This is true. It's backed up by facts. There's paperwork. Urmar Johnson goes on the Breakfast Club and talked about the same thing, him taking money from the poor. Okay, that's true. If the city, some certain cities or the state of Mississippi have people that's in those cities and counties that are suffering, but a whole particular state or even a college or whatever got funds that they have available or made available to an individual person to start a volleyball team or whatever it is, most of that money could be used to create jobs for families to take care of their kids. But instead, they gave the money to you, Brett. That is not, like I said, I respect Brett. I like Brett. But that is not, sir. It's not. You're a celebrity. Okay? Celebrities get called out all the time unless the issue or the accusation is not true. Now, you look at the National Enquirer. National Enquirer just say some stupid stuff about people. I grew up on the National Enquirer. Before we had TMZ, there was the National Enquirer. We looked at this and we were like, is what these people are saying on here are true? I think they said the mob created the National Enquirer. But the National Enquirer will go out and just talk about anything. They'll just say some celebrity got drunk and had sex in a club and stuff. And we used to take those newspapers and say, what the hell is the National Enquirer talking about here? But no celebrity sued them because they didn't take the National Enquirer seriously. You know what I mean? So there's Brett, and as a sport podcaster like myself, we basically just report the news. We talk about different things. And so by you filing a lawsuit, people are going to talk about it as well because you're a celebrity in sports. And they're going to talk about it because now you've opened up the door for the celebrity, this to be basically public now. Even though that they basically also, that Mr. White went on a podcast speaking of it or talked to somebody in the news media, what have you, and made a situation that if you're going to use public funds, it's going to be talked about. That's just the bottom line. And you can also be charged. But like I said, you have white privilege. And that's the reason why a lot of white folks have not came out about helping you, Brett. Because they're saying, listen, you're exposing a form of white privilege here. Brett, you need to shut up and just pay the money here, okay? Because this type of stuff, white folks get away with. This is a form of white privilege. And go ahead and just pay the money back and dismiss the lawsuit, Brett. I mean, for crying out loud, man, this is not... you've been a grumpy old white man right now. But anyway, like I said, man, this is hilarious. All right, tomorrow on the Lawyers Podcast show, there is a epidemic of a lot of Black women being evicted from their homes and their apartments. Oh, man, I thought Jim Crow Joe liked y'all. Well, let's find out that at the time that the vice president, who's a Black woman who was married to a white man, then the Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown married to a white man. But what is white folks showing you, Black women? In order to make it, you have to be hugging, shoving all up on a white man. But listen, here's the thing. At the time that you will see certain types of Black women and certain types of so-called powerful positions, you have to look now at the housing market. Black women now are getting evicted and kicked out of their homes. We'll talk about it tomorrow. That's on the Lawyer Henderson podcast show. I keep telling you are as Black as they. Thank you for listening to the Lawyers podcast show. We'll be right back tomorrow with our topic. Also, plus our code. Is in the news as well. Case of Chicago got this job. Lawyer Henderson live with Saturday. Take care.